It's a beautiful day for talking baseball indeed. Welcome everyone to the 2025 Jamestown Tarp Skunks baseball season. I'm Drake Ennis welcoming you to the debut episode of Tarp Talk here on 107.9 WRFA. We are just under 60 days away from opening up our 5th anniversary season, and it's going to be historical for many reasons, and we'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. Coming up on the program tonight, we sit down and talk to General Manager Christian Dolce about the focus for building the team this year. We'll be also talking about our new head coach, Frank Jagoda, as well as some of the marquee home games coming up in the first couple of weeks of the season. And all throughout the month of April, we will talk to a few of the players from the 2024 season, starting next week when we sit down with pitcher Brady Wright. But let's talk about last season, just to kick things off here for a moment. Last season, there were some early challenges with the coaching change from Ben Julian to Ryan Hill, who did an absolutely incredible job after being thrust into the big chair, ultimately leading the Skunks to a 19-25 finish, getting the 4th seed in the playoffs before falling to Batavia. Ryan Hill took over June 18th after the Skunks started 4-7, and under his leadership led that team to a 15-18 record in the post-Julian era. And that is something that was especially impressive going later on into the last couple of weeks of the season as players started to fall off the roster, returning home, availability becoming an issue. And just the way Ryan Hill was able to manage that and still lead the team into the playoffs, tremendous job, and we wish him nothing but success in his future. But that was then. This is now, and we're under new management, as announced in January at the Tarp Skunks State of the Team event in January. Frank Jagoda will be at the helm for the 2025 season, and we're going to have Frank on in May. Right now, the roster and the staff still coming together. Things are still in motion. Pieces are still moving. I have been trying to get in touch with Frank, and he and I just keep missing each other. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to sit down and have a nice long conversation and bring that to you. But I can tell you there is a good feeling in the front office with his experience in player development with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Minnesota Twins, just his life in baseball in general, I think is going to bring a breath of fresh air into the clubhouse. And 5th anniversary season, I can't think of a better way to start off than an absolutely clean slate, clean roster. Nobody from last year's team coming back this year, so it's 100% brand new roster, brand new coaching staff, and I can tell you there is a lot of excitement being buzzed around right now at Russell E. Dietrich Park. One of the owners of the Tarp Skunks, Greg Peterson, sat down and had a great interview with Coach Jagoda just after he was announced as the Tarp Skunks new manager. And that video is available on our new website, JamestownTarpSkunks.com. Again, JamestownTarpSkunks.com. Click on the media tab to check out that video. There's also a great video on there talking with Christian Dolce, definitely worth checking out. And while you're at the website, let's talk about it. Seats and tickets are going fast. You do not want to be turned away at the ticket booth. Just the excitement within the community. I know those tickets are going to be a hot commodity this season, so go ahead and guarantee your spot at Russell E. Dietrich Park for this 5th anniversary season by going to the website, JamestownTarpSkunks.com, clicking on the tickets link, and it will give you all the information that you need to get your season tickets for your 2025 Jamestown Tarp Skunks. All right, switching tracks. We get to the main event of the show, as earlier this week had a chance to sit down and talk to Christian Dolce about some of the things that you, as Tarp Skunks fans, can look forward to at Russell E. Dietrich Park this upcoming 5th anniversary season, including opening and closing the season with the Batavia Muck Dogs. Is that rivalry real? We'll talk about that, as well as a historic game in the first week of the PG CBL Western Division. Very important game. We'll talk about that as well because it will have ramifications for the 2025 season. And just as a pre-warning, I did have a little microphone issue, so I had to talk to Christian to record the interview over the phone. So my questions might be a little fuzzy, but he came through in crystal clear stereo. And without any further ado, let's talk to Christian Dolce. All right, Christian Dolce, third year general manager, fifth year with the club. I want to start off, just talk about your experience going from intern to being the man running the club.
Yeah, it's been sort of a full circle type of experience for me. Basically starting my sports industry career with the Tarp Skunks as an intern back in the first season in 2021, and really being able to not only see myself grow, but see the organization itself grow with the community involvement and the fans. It's been a lot of fun. And, now that I'm sort of the one who's leading everything at the top, having my mark on things and continuing to push it out has been a blast. So, I think that I learned a lot as an intern. I learned, a little bit here, a little bit there, and kind of putting it all together is really put me in a good position over the last two seasons and now into my third.
Yeah, I love that you say, putting your mark on things because, one of the things that I've been wondering about is what would you say is the signature or the thumbprint that you've put on this team that people in the community can look and say, you know what, yep, Christian did that. What would be like the one signature thing?
Yeah, I I think we always did a really good job of it, but it was really like when we started to like get an idea of like how to involve kids. And we created the Wi-Fi Fund, and my first season I created the Tarp Skunks Kids Club, and then we do things with Little League teams. And this year we're going to do a huge game where I want to pack the stadium with every single Little League team in Chautauqua County. I think leveraging and kind of figuring out how to involve kids has been like the main focus for me because I've realized if the kids come to the game, their parents are going to come to the game, they're going to bring brothers and sisters to the games, and they're going to bring aunts and uncles. And, I think that we always did a good job the first 2 years of just being a good community team. But I feel like the last two seasons and now into this third one, I have really taken a charge on how do we really get kids to come here on a consistent basis. So
And
it's been really interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's one of the big hallmarks of a team, especially in a summer league, is being able to involve the kids because you're really ingraining baseball in the next generation of Little League and Babe Ruth and those players that are going to be coming up. And I know in certain areas of the country, youth baseball involvement and participation seems to ebb and flow. And I think one of the nice things about with the kids club and everything is that, especially bringing them out to Dietrich Park, that, it implants it in their mind that at some point they may be able to play on the same field that they watched their favorites Tarp Skunks.
Yeah, it's actually it's kind of funny because this upcoming season we got Branston Lindquist, who's a local product of sorts who grew up in Falconer. He plays at a private school up in Buffalo now, but I I don't know if he knows this, but I remember when he was it be 4 years ago in 2021. I remember him being at the park, and I think at the time he was probably in eighth grade, and he was getting ready to play on the Babe Ruth World Series team as a 13-year-old. And now it's funny because he's going to be on the team this upcoming year. So you're right. It's like I don't know what kind of impact we might have had on him, if any, but it's already shockingly starting to kind of turn over in that way.
Yeah, it's a great story. And speaking of Kids Day, Greg Peterson put a great video up on his YouTube page that I'm going to try to put on the Tarp Skunks website that kind of went over 2,750 fans during Kids Day last year. Now with the release of the home schedule, Niagara Falls coming into Jamestown again for Kids Day, 11 a.m. on June 10th. And it seems like there's been a couple of patterns with the schedule. I've noticed Niagara Falls seems to be the team that comes in for Kids Day, but let's shift a little bit and start talking about opening the season with Batavia and closing the season again with Batavia. It seems to me that, and maybe it's just me, but it seems like the rivalry is real because you don't get opening and closing the season with the same team season after season unless there's something there.
Yeah, I think that the with Batavia, when you think about like the New York Penn League and you go back into the minor league system, like Jamestown and Batavia have always been such good rivals. I mean, just going back years and years. I mean, even before I was around, and it's still treated that way. I went up to the playoff game last year in Batavia when we lost, and I mean the fans up there were not not very kind, and we're not very kind to their players either. So it truly is like the most real rivalry, I think, in the Western Division and maybe in the entire league. So I think last year, Batavia had a really great team. They got upset in the playoffs, not by us, but they're definitely going to have a really good team this year. So we're looking to compete with them a little bit more and a little bit better than we did last year. So hopefully those that game on the last day of the year is meaningful, and it decides some good playoff implications. That's what we're hoping for.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to be there with it.
Hmm.
Let's switch topics a little bit because
Yeah.
we have Frank Jagoda, our new Tarp Skunks manager for the 2025 season. Last year we brought in Ben Julian to manage the club, resigning a couple of weeks in. Ryan Hill takes over for the rest of the season. And for a major league general manager, it's just part of the business that they've had experience with. For you, this is really your first time in your career that you've had to deal with something like that. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about that experience as far as what you learned about yourself as a GM in that position and how you applied that this year when you brought aboard Frank Jagoda.
Yeah, moving, with the Ben Julian, coaching last year, that situation where he, ultimately resigned. It was tough because when you recruit players and you recruit people to be sponsors, and you have this image in your head of what you want your organization to look like, and then things don't go right where you're caught in a little bit of some crossfire, if you will. And when we had to make a change there and bring Ryan Hill in, keeping the confidence in our players was number one, but then having to relay that to their college coaches. And Ryan did a great job. He got us to the playoffs for the third time in 4 seasons, and putting that trust in him and putting the trust in our players to kind of get us to the playoffs is huge. But you're right. It's something that at the major league level they deal with on a almost yearly basis. You know, moving on from different people, new people coming in, people leaving, and I think I learned a lot about just patience. Really, realizing that everything is going to be okay, and having some confidence that the decisions that you make to bring in another person, or select another manager. Is it going to be Ryan Hill, the interim manager? Is it going to be someone completely else? And having some confidence in that can go a long way. And moving on to Frank this year, I'm ecstatic to have him. He's got a ton of experience, and I really think that we've put together a good team. So it's going to be exciting for us this year. But last year was a big learning lesson for all of us in our organization, and I learned a lot about it. How to adapt and kind of move within the situation there.
Yeah, I mean that was a situation where, it really could have been a worst case scenario where players leave and we just stop winning games. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of credit goes to you and to Ryan Hill and everybody on that coaching staff who kept the team level headed and went out there. And again, fourth playoff or third playoff appearance in fourth year. Hopefully this year it'll be 4 and 5, and
Yeah.
we'll go a little
Yep.
bit further in. And speaking of that, there are no returning players from last year's team. So 2025, completely clean slate. And as we get closer to the season, we'll start talking about the roster, probably have you back in mid-May and really just start going over that roster a little bit. But I
Hmm.
wanted you to talk a little bit about the philosophy and the differences between recruiting in your first 2 years and how you apply those lessons to this year, building this roster.
Yeah, I think the benefit that I've, going back to almost like your first question there, the benefit of me being here, starting as an intern and now kind of as the general manager, I've seen every team, and I mean, I've said it, we were in the playoffs 3 out of 4 years, but when we get to the playoffs, we can't win, and it's like, something's not right in the formula. We can win, but then why aren't we winning in the playoffs? And what Frank and I decided, really, and what I've noticed is pitching wins in this league. And, whenever you have Frank on here, he'll say the same thing. You can never have enough pitching in this league. So we've got a lot of really great pitchers coming in this year. But then in addition, we've got some legit like two-way player guys who can hit and they can pitch, that are going to be really impactful for us. So that's been like the biggest focus, I think, coming into this year with recruiting was sort of a philosophy change of, we don't need a guy to go out and throw 6, 7 innings and then we burn them for the whole week. I think the idea, and I mean, I won't speak for Frank on this, but the idea that we've sort of bounced around is, all right, he's going to throw 2 innings today, and the next guy might throw 2 innings, and this guy might only get 1 inning. That way, arms stay fresh, in addition to the number of arms that we have. So it's a different philosophy, but I think it's going to be very impactful once we get down to the end of the season.
And finally, the last thing that I really want to talk about, and I think
Yeah.
this is absolutely big news, in the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, the addition of an eighth team in the Western Division, and not
Hmm.
only an eighth team in the Western Division, the first team based out of Canada. St. Catharines is now going to be playing host to the Niagara Ironbacks. Great name. And, Niagara Falls is there. Still, they're the Niagara Falls Americans, Niagara Ironbacks. There may be some confusion early on, but
Yeah.
I saw your appearance on the Canadian news channel up there giving the
Yeah.
general manager there some advice. So I've been following this pretty closely. I think it's a great thing, especially for the athletes in Canada, which I know is their focus
Hmm.
to try to get more Canadian baseball players in, get them this kind of spotlight. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of having an 18 in the league, the importance of having Canadian representation in the league, and the historic fact that we will be hosting the Niagara Ironbacks in their very first game at Russell E. Dietrich Park.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited. I've been in a lot of contact with the ownership group and the management up there in St. Catharines, and it's huge for the league because now you start looking at the league as, anytime you can expand in any league, especially in our collegiate summer league, it's it's huge because it gets more eyes on our product. It gets more eyes on, not only the Tarp Skunks, but the league as a whole for players, for sponsors, for businesses. And, looking into the future, hopefully we can create a Canadian division where we get, a team in St. Catharines, which we have now, and then we add maybe one in Hamilton or Welland, or, there's a few other spots that are maybe up for contention for possible expansion team in, 5, 10 years down the road. But it's the start of something which I think is great, and that's just continuing to build on the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League. If this expansion team is huge, for all of us. And I'm really excited for the fact that we get to play them in their first ever game. I hope we win, right? I don't want them to come down to our place on their first game ever and beat us. But it's going to be great. And I'm even more excited, I think, to go up there and play. We go up there in late June, I believe it is, and we play the Niagara Ironbacks. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun.
And as we round third and head home toward, I mean, we're under 2 months away from the beginning of the season. What is your big message that you would give to the fans to get them excited and ready to get their season tickets and come out to Dietrich Park and pack that place this year?
Yeah, I think that first off, we're gonna have a great team. Really, truthfully, I always say we're gonna have a good team just for good PR, but I actually truthfully believe we will have a great team this year. And in addition to that, we have a ton of great events planned this year. Theme nights, different groups coming to the park, events at the park that are kid related, are um, you know older people related as well. We have an event for everyone, I'd say, this summer. So I think that when the promotional schedule comes out in April, a lot of fans are going to be super happy to see that there's some really cool nights planned on the schedule this year. And of course, there's always $2 beer nights. So that's always the fun one for fans. So get your season tickets anytime at online or in office, and we're ready for the season, I think.
And you can get your season tickets by going to the new website, JamestownTarpSkunks.com. Click on the tickets tab, and it'll take you right to the season ticket order form. General Manager of the Jamestown Tarp Skunks, Christian Dolce, thank you very much for joining us on the debut edition of Tarp Talk here on 1079 WRFA. And I can't wait to hear those magical words on opening day. Play ball.
That's right. Thank you. Go Skunks.
That was Tarp Skunks General Manager Christian Dolce. And as you heard, the new team in the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League's Western Division, based out of St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, it will be the Niagara Ironbacks. Now, when you look at the schedule, you will see the abbreviations NIA and NF. The Niagara Falls Americans still exist, thankfully, as they had a great debut season last year under their new branding. June the 5th, I believe it is, and I will double check that, but the very first game for the Niagara Ironbacks will take place at Russell E. Dietrich Park, 6:30 p.m. for the first pitch. That is June the 5th, and it is going to be a very historic day because it will be the Ironbacks' debut. And as you heard Christian there, we want to show them a very warm welcome here in Western New York, but hopefully we walk away with the win in that game. Some of the other games early on in the first couple of weeks that you are going to want to circle on your calendar, as we did mention, May 29th, Batavia Muck Dogs opening up the season at Russell E. Dietrich Park against your Jamestown Tarp Skunks, 6:30 for the first pitch, and you're going to want to keep your eye on JamestownTarpSkunks.com for all the festivities once they are released for opening day. I know Christian is working extremely hard on that one. Tarp Skunks go on the road for two, one in Elmira, one against Batavia on Sunday, June 1st. Back here with our first of two exhibition games, with the addition of the Ironbacks. The amount of exhibition games dropping from 3 to 2. First game will take place June the 3rd, as the Olean Oilers come into town, 6:30 first pitch on that one. And on June 11th, the Buffalo Diesel come back to town to take on the Tarp Skunks. And you have to wonder, is Christian Dolce going to get another at-bat in this one? We'll have to see how that works. But looking at the schedule, it's pretty light the first few weeks of 2025 as far as action in Jamestown. only 7 games from May 29th to June 19th, as it will be Batavia, Olean, Niagara, Niagara Falls, Buffalo, Geneva, and Niagara Falls in those 7 games. And then as we get closer to the end of June, that's when action really picks up the last couple of weeks of June into the first couple of weeks of July. And then the schedule balances out more home and away. But looking June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, Batavia comes into town on Saturday the 21st, 6:30 p.m. for that one. Elmira in town for the first doubleheader in Jamestown. That is going to be Sunday, June 22nd, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock estimated for the first pitch in game number 2. And then Batavia comes back on Monday night. So bookend games with the Muck Dogs. The Tarp Skunks make their first trip to St. Catharines to take on the Niagara Ironbacks in Canada. That game is going to be June 25th, 2025. So if you are going to make plans to head up to Canada, make sure you have your passports, your real ID, whatever you need to do to get across the border to support your Jamestown Tarp Skunks. And then, of course, let's not forget probably one of the most popular days of the season at the ballpark, June the 10th, Niagara Falls coming into Jamestown for Kids Day. That is going to be an 11 a.m. first pitch, and that place is going to be packed. A ton of kids. You are going to want to make your plans to get down there and be a part of that atmosphere. Because I can tell you one thing about Russell E. Dietrich Park. When that place is packed, that place gets loud. And one of the loudest days that we had last year was against the Niagara Falls Americans and Kids Day. Another thing that I want to bring up real quick as we round third and head for home on the debut issue of Tarp Talk is the WRFA Fund. The WRFA Fund has been providing access to baseball games to Jamestown and community kids in the area free of charge by offsetting the cost of the tickets. It is a partnership between the Tarp Skunks, the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation, and the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame. In the summer of 2024, the Tarp Skunks gave out over 2,500 tickets to local community youth, and you can help donate to try to get that number even higher for the 2025 season. Go to JamestownTarpSkunks.com, click on the WRFA Fund, and scroll down toward the bottom of the page. There is a click here to donate. Just click on the here, and that will take you to the donation page. For more information, you can go to crcfonline.org or contact Lisa Lind, Donor Services Officer, at 716-661-3390, or L. Lind, that's LLYNDE, at crcfonline.org. All right, as I mentioned, we are rounding third, heading to home next week on Tarp Talk. We will talk to the man who holds the number 10 play of 2024, pitcher Brady Wright. If you have a question, comment, something that you would like to get off your chest, or have a question about the 2025 team, you can send me an email at skunksgfx@gmail.com. I will do my best to either answer your question or address your comment on an upcoming episode. Until then, I've been Dre Guinness. This has been Tarp Talk, and we'll see you at Russell E. Dietrich Park. Good night, everybody.
The batter's never seen a polecat throw a ball before. It zips right past him like